Hello brothers, and welcome to Sigma Old Man Channel. Some traps are built with gold, others with silence, but the deadliest ones are disguised as understanding. Sigma males are not the kind you can bait with beauty or charm. They're the rare breed who can read a room faster than most people can send a text. Yet even they aren't completely immune to the invisible traps women lay, not out of evil, but instinct. Psychology calls it covert behavioral calibration, that subtle dance of manipulation and curiosity that happens when someone meets a mind they can't easily predict. And that's where it gets fascinating. Because when a Sigma male enters the emotional arena, he isn't playing checkers. He's watching everyone else play chess with blindfolds on. He's aware, detached, and dangerously observant. But even the most self-contained man can trip when emotional intelligence meets strategic affection. These aren't your typical seduction games or feminine wiles. These are mental puzzles wrapped in warmth, empathy, and sometimes unintentional chaos. And if you've ever wondered why the most emotionally intelligent men still fall for the wrong women, well, welcome to the Sigma Trap list. Brace yourself. This isn't going to be polite, predictable, or politically correct. It's going to be honest and a little too real. Number 1, the silent punishment trap. When a Sigma male goes quiet, it's not a tactic, it's a lifestyle. His silence is how he resets, protects his peace, and keeps his energy sacred. But when a woman tries to use silence as a weapon against him, she unknowingly steps into a psychological war she can't win. Her silence is meant to punish. His silence is meant to heal. That's the difference. The silent punishment trap begins when she decides to teach him a lesson by withholding words, affection, and attention. She thinks if she withdraws, he'll feel the sting of her absence and crawl back with emotional apologies. It works on most men, the kind who fear emotional distance. But with a Sigma, the outcome is reversed. He doesn't interpret silence as rejection. He interprets it as freedom. While she's waiting for him to react, he's recharging. While she's testing his patience, he's reassessing the entire relationship. The Sigma male has mastered emotional detachment to the point that silence doesn't create anxiety. It creates clarity. And that's what makes this trap backfire in spectacular fashion. What she intended as punishment becomes a gift. The space she created to make him miss her instead helps him see how peaceful life is without emotional games. He starts valuing the quiet more than the connection. Once that happens, he mentally exits, even if he's still physically around. The cruel twist is that she eventually breaks her own silence, not because she's ready to communicate, but because she can't handle the stillness he thrives in. She realizes too late that her silence didn't make him chase. It made him disappear emotionally. The silent punishment trap fails because it tries to weaponize something the Sigma male has already turned into his power. You can't hurt a man with what he's already mastered, and silence for the Sigma isn't emptiness, it's sovereignty. Number 2, the hero projection trap. The hero projection trap starts when a woman meets a Sigma male and mistakes his emotional calm for emotional safety. He listens, understands, and doesn't judge. To her, that feels like a kind of strength she's been searching for, a man who can hold space without trying to fix her. But the trap begins when she confuses that balance for rescue. She builds a silent expectation in her mind that he will heal the pain she refuses to face herself. She starts projecting her brokenness onto him, calling it connection. She sees him as the answer to her chaos, the anchor for her storm. But what she doesn't realize is that Sigma males are not built to be anyone's emotional ambulance. They don't save people, they awaken them. And awakening isn't gentle, it's raw and uncomfortable. At first, she's drawn to his strength, his mystery, his refusal to be emotionally consumed. But soon, the same qualities that attracted her start to irritate her. He doesn't overreact, doesn't beg, doesn't spiral. To her, that feels cold. She mistakes his emotional discipline for emotional distance, and the resentment begins. She'll accuse him of not caring enough, not loving deeply enough, not trying hard enough, when, in truth, he simply refuses to play the role she scripted for him. The trap unravels when she realizes he won't fight for the version of her that depends on him. He'll support her growth, but he won't carry her wounds. And when she realizes the Sigma male won't become her savior, she feels betrayed by her own fantasy. The irony is that he never promised to rescue her. She just assumed he would. The hero projection trap collapses when a woman realizes that the Sigma male was never her hero. He was her mirror. He showed her the parts of herself she needed to face. And that's the kind of truth no one is ready for until it's too late. Number 3, the reality trap. The reality trap begins when a woman convinces a Sigma male that she's different, that she understands his need for solitude, his boundaries, and his quiet detachment. She doesn't chase, she doesn't demand, and she seems to exist comfortably in his world of peace and simplicity. At first, it feels like alignment. She gives him space without making it feel like distance. She accepts him as he is. But deep down, that acceptance is temporary. It lasts only until her emotions want more than his nature can give. Slowly, the subtle edits begin, not in obvious ways, but through emotional persuasion. She starts trying to normalize him, suggesting he should talk more, open up more, go out more, be a little more available. At first it sounds like care, but it's really correction in disguise. She's not trying to change him into a better version of himself. She's trying to change him into a version that feels safer for her emotions. The Sigma male, being intuitive, notices the shift immediately. He feels the invisible pressure, the way peace turns into performance. What was once freedom now starts to feel like a behavioral checklist. Every action becomes a test of how well he can balance authenticity with expectation. And that's when his detachment deepens. He withdraws quietly, not out of anger, but because he knows how dangerous it is to let someone rearrange his reality. The moment a woman tries to make him fit, she loses the part of him that drew her in, his unfiltered truth. The Sigma male's strength lies in being untouched by conformity. Once that's tampered with, he starts to fade, emotionally, mentally, and eventually, completely. The reality trap fails because it underestimates how fiercely a Sigma male protects his identity. You can invite him into your world, but you can't redesign his. The moment you try, he's already halfway out the door, not in rebellion, but in quiet self-preservation. Number 4, the Ego Mirage. The Ego Mirage is one of the most deceptive traps a woman can set for a Sigma male because it doesn't attack his confidence. It feeds it. It starts with admiration that feels pure and genuine. She praises his intelligence, his independence, his control. She calls him different, rare, and mysterious. To most men, that would inflate their ego. To a Sigma, it simply feels like recognition, but that's where the danger hides. The woman isn't always aware she's setting a trap. Her compliments come with subtle emotional hooks. Every time she feeds his ego, she studies what makes him respond. She learns his rhythm, his quiet triggers, his invisible pride. Once she's mapped his emotional blueprint, she starts controlling the supply. What was once constant praise slowly turns into selective silence. She stops acknowledging his strengths, withholds her attention, and creates emotional scarcity. This is where the test begins. She wants to see if the man who claims to need no validation will seek it when it's withdrawn. For most, This tactic works, because everyone at some level craves recognition. But the Sigma male's ego doesn't depend on external approval. His validation system runs internally, and that's what makes this game collapse. Instead of chasing the energy she once gave him, he withdraws completely. Her silence doesn't pull him closer. It exposes her manipulation. The very moment she tries to control him through admiration, she loses the authenticity he once respected. He realizes that her compliments were never connection. They were currency. The Ego Mirage fails because the Sigma male's ego isn't built on being worshipped. It's built on being free. He doesn't feed on attention. He feeds on alignment. Once he senses emotional economy, he detaches so deeply that even her affection starts to feel fake. In the end, she learns the hard truth. You can't manipulate a man who no longer needs to be seen to feel significant. Number 5, the soft control routine. The soft control routine is subtle, gentle, and nearly invisible. It doesn't come with drama or manipulation you can easily point at. It comes dressed as care. A woman using this method doesn't argue for dominance. She nurtures her way into it. She studies what makes a Sigma male relax, the tone, the rhythm, the small moments that make him let down his guard. Then she wraps her presence around those details until peace itself becomes associated with her. It begins innocently, warm texts, consistent attention, genuine kindness. She becomes a calm space in his chaotic world. The Sigma male, who usually finds peace within himself, starts associating that same peace with her energy. That's where the dependency quietly forms. She's not demanding, not loud, not invasive. And that's exactly why it works. He doesn't see control, he feels comfort. The turning point comes when she starts controlling access to that comfort. Her tone shifts slightly, her warmth becomes conditional, and her presence turns strategic. Now he must meet unspoken expectations to receive the same peace she once gave freely. It's no longer love, it's management. She has turned emotional connection into emotional currency. What makes this trap so dangerous is its invisibility. It doesn't bruise the ego, it seduces it. The Sigma male, normally immune to control, struggles to detect it because it feels like love, not leverage. And when he finally realizes he's being guided, not respected, it hits differently. It's betrayal wrapped in affection. But the Sigma male's strength is awareness. Once he senses the pattern, the dependency loop, the energy exchange, he retreats quietly. He doesn't argue. He reclaims his peace. Because no matter how soft the control feels, he knows that freedom wrapped in comfort is still captivity. The soft control routine fails the moment he remembers he doesn't need anyone to keep him calm, only himself. Number 6, the mystery paradox. The mystery paradox starts when a woman meets a Sigma male and mistakes his mystery for a performance, something he does intentionally to attract attention. She assumes his quiet nature, his unpredictability, and his emotional stillness are strategic moves meant to draw people in. So, she decides to match it. She becomes unavailable, distant, and unpredictable, thinking she's leveling the playing field. But the problem is, he's not playing at all. His mystery isn't a mask. It's his natural state. At first, she believes her new behavior will intrigue him. She pulls back, responds less, and sprinkles just enough attention to stay on his radar. For most men, that would create curiosity or even jealousy. But for a Sigma male, it creates space, and he loves that. Her withdrawal isn't a challenge, it's a relief. While she's trying to make him chase, he's quietly appreciating the silence she thinks will make him restless. What she doesn't understand is that mystery, for the Sigma, isn't about hiding, It's about living in a world where very few people truly see. His detachment isn't emotional manipulation, it's emotional discipline. When a woman tries to out-mystify him, she's essentially trying to win a game he never agreed to play. Eventually, the tension she created starts working against her. Her distance no longer feels powerful, it feels empty. Her unpredictability, once playful, becomes confusing, and instead of drawing him closer, it convinces him she's performing. Sigma males are allergic to performance. They crave authenticity. The moment they sense emotional theatrics, their interest evaporates. The mystery paradox ends the same way it begins, in silence. She tried to be mysterious to attract him, not realizing he lives in that space permanently. You can't out-mystify someone who finds comfort in being misunderstood. And that's the cruel truth of the paradox. She didn't lose him because she was too mysterious. She lost him because he was never seeking a mystery to solve, but a soul that spoke without pretending. Number 7, the moral inversion trap. The moral inversion trap begins when a woman realizes a Sigma male's greatest strength isn't his confidence or independence, it's his moral compass. He operates from principles, not popularity. His code is quiet but unshakable, and that's what makes him different. But to some women, that moral discipline isn't just fascinating, it's a challenge. They want to know if his integrity is truly unbreakable or if it bends when emotions enter the room. She doesn't attack his beliefs directly. She slowly starts testing them. It could be small, asking him to compromise on something he said he'd never do, or tempting him with moments that contradict his values. She frames it as harmless fun, emotional spontaneity, or living in the moment. What she's really doing is studying how easily his boundaries can be softened. For the Sigma male, these moments are revealing. He recognizes that every innocent temptation is a quiet experiment, not about love, but control. The goal isn't connection, it's dominance through moral confusion. If she can make him betray his principles for her comfort, she gains emotional leverage. Because once a man breaks his own code, he loses part of the respect that keeps him strong. But the Sigma doesn't fall easily. His calm isn't passivity, it's self-command. He can be compassionate without being compromised, and that's what infuriates her. The more he refuses to bend, the more she feels powerless. She begins to accuse him of being rigid, judgmental, or emotionally cold, hoping guilt will do what temptation couldn't. When that fails, she realizes the truth. The Sigma male's integrity isn't performative. It's who he is. You can't seduce a man who finds more pleasure in self-respect than in approval. The moral inversion trap collapses because it misunderstands him completely. He doesn't need moral validation from others. His compass isn't guided by emotions, it's guarded by them. Number 8, the fixing game. The fixing game starts when a woman meets a Sigma male and mistakes his emotional depth for emotional damage. His silence, independence, and detachment look like wounds to her, something that needs her healing touch. She tells herself she's going to help him open up, but that's just the surface story. Deep down, what she really wants is to reshape him into something more predictable, more emotionally accessible, more hers. It begins with soft questions. Why don't you talk about your feelings? Or, you don't have to carry everything alone. She means well, or at least believes she does. But every attempt to fix him is really an attempt to make him function like everyone else. The Sigma male, however, isn't broken. He simply lives from a place of inner stillness that most people mistake for walls. He processes emotion privately because that's where he finds strength, not weakness. At first, he allows her attempts. He listens, observes, maybe even opens up a little. But soon, he senses the hidden mission, that she's not connecting with him as he is. She's trying to create a new version that suits her emotional language. And that's when his interest begins to fade. Because the Sigma male doesn't want to be decoded. He wants to be respected in his mystery. The irony is brutal. Once she feels she's successfully opened him up, the attraction dies. The man she reshaped is no longer the one who fascinated her. The mystery that drew her in has vanished under her own hands. She realizes too late that she didn't fall for who he was. She fell for the thrill of changing him. The fixing game always ends the same way. She wins the illusion, but loses the essence. And the Sigma walks away, not bitter, but quietly wiser, knowing that anyone who tries to fix what isn't broken will never understand the beauty of what already works. Number 9, the Chaos Calibration. The Chaos Calibration begins when a woman realizes she can't read a Sigma male the way she reads most men. His calm unnerves her. His silence makes her wonder. His emotional control feels almost supernatural. So she creates chaos, not out of malice, but curiosity. She wants to know if he can be shaken, if he'll ever lose composure, if he's truly as emotionally untouchable as he seems. She stirs things subtly at first. A small argument, a confusing reaction, a dose of drama to test his balance. When he doesn't react, she turns up the emotional temperature. A late-night accusation, a guilt trip disguised as honesty, a sudden withdrawal of affection. Each move is a test. She wants proof that he feels something, anything. To her, chaos is data. If he breaks, she knows he's human. If he doesn't, she calls him distant. What she doesn't understand is that the Sigma male doesn't suppress emotion, he governs it. His control isn't coldness, it's mastery. He refuses to let temporary storms dictate his behavior. While she's creating emotional whirlwinds, he's quietly observing the pattern. He sees the manipulation beneath the tears, the testing hidden in the tantrums. And every time she escalates, she unknowingly reveals more of herself than she intended. Eventually, the game backfires. The more chaos she creates, the calmer he becomes. The more she tries to provoke him, the less he engages. To her, that feels like rejection. To him, it's self-respect. She ends up exhausting herself trying to unlock a reaction that was never coming. The chaos calibration fails because it mistakes stillness for emptiness. The Sigma male's calm isn't indifference. It's emotional intelligence in motion. You can't rattle a man who finds peace in the same silence others run from. The harder she pushes to disturb his equilibrium, the more she proves why he protects it. In the end, she realizes the truth. He doesn't need to match her chaos to prove he feels. His peace is the proof. Number 10, the insecurity amplifier. The insecurity amplifier is a psychological game women play when they meet a man who doesn't compete for validation. The Sigma male's calm confidence doesn't feed on approval, and that unsettles her. She's used to emotional feedback, jealousy, reaction, some spark of insecurity that proves a man is invested. But when she gets none, she creates a situation to test him. She starts sprinkling subtle comparisons, mentioning another man's success, looks, or charm. Not out of admiration, but to see if she can make him react. At first, it's innocent on the surface. "My co-worker's so ambitious," or "You remind me of someone who's really confident." But beneath those words is an experiment. She's not complimenting anyone else. She's checking if the Sigma feels threatened. When he doesn't flinch, she grows uneasy. His stillness doesn't register as strength. It feels like emotional distance. She starts raising the stakes, adding more pointed remarks, small digs wrapped in jokes, even playful challenges, anything to make him show a trace of insecurity. But the Sigma male's power lies in his internal validation. He doesn't need to outperform another man to feel worthy. His sense of self isn't negotiable. It's built on solitude and self-awareness. So while she's busy trying to spark a reaction, he simply listens, nods, and moves on. To him, her comparisons are noise. To her, his non-reaction feels like emotional invisibility. The game eventually backfires. What was meant to make him chase ends up exposing her own insecurities. The more she tries to provoke, the more she realizes how unaffected he truly is. And that realization becomes her quiet frustration. The Sigma male doesn't compete because he's already complete. The insecurity amplifier fails because it tries to manipulate an ego that no longer seeks external validation. And when a woman can't trigger a Sigma, she doesn't feel powerful, she feels exposed. Number 11, the empathic competition trap. The empathic competition trap begins quietly. When a woman meets a Sigma male, she's drawn to his emotional balance, that rare mix of awareness and control. He doesn't overreact, doesn't chase, and doesn't crumble under pressure. Instead of trying to understand it, she decides to match it. But what starts as admiration quickly turns into rivalry. She doesn't want to connect with his calm. She wants to conquer it. She studies his mannerisms, his tone, his patience. Soon, she begins mirroring everything he does, the pauses, the quiet responses, even his emotional detachment. It looks like compatibility, but it's imitation. Her goal isn't to join his wavelength, it's to prove she can exist on it just as effortlessly. It becomes an unspoken competition of who can care less, who can stay quieter, who can seem more unbothered. At first he notices and finds it mildly interesting. But the Sigma male is a master of authenticity. He senses when energy is real and when it's rehearsed. Her calm feels staged, her awareness mechanical. While she's trying to win by copying his emotional language, he's already disengaging, because mimicry feels like noise to someone fluent in silence. What makes this trap fascinating is that she doesn't realize she's losing herself in the process. The more she tries to mirror him, the further she drifts from her own emotional truth. She begins to confuse emotional suppression with strength and starts performing peace instead of practicing it. Meanwhile, he watches with quiet understanding, knowing that genuine empathy doesn't compete, it connects. Eventually, the mask slips. Her controlled demeanor cracks under the pressure of authenticity, and the act becomes transparent. The Sigma male never calls it out. He simply detaches. The empathic competition trap collapses because it tries to replicate what can't be faked. You can imitate someone's calm, but you can't counterfeit their peace. And that's the difference between mirroring power and actually having it. Number 12, the validation deadlock. The validation deadlock begins when a woman encounters a Sigma male who doesn't depend on anyone's approval to feel secure. He doesn't chase praise, doesn't need constant reassurance, and doesn't crumble when attention fades. To her, that's unfamiliar, even unsettling. So she decides to test him. She withholds validation, pulls back affection, and watches to see if he'll bend. She wants proof that his composure is just a mask, that deep down he still craves approval like everyone else. At first, she's confident it will work. Most men react when attention disappears. They become restless, eager to win it back. But the Sigma male is different. He doesn't interpret silence as rejection. He sees it as space. Instead of chasing her approval, he withdraws into his natural state of independence. He's comfortable being misunderstood, even doubted, because his self-worth doesn't come from emotional applause. This confuses her. The more indifferent he appears, the more she feels the need to provoke a reaction. She becomes emotionally inconsistent, one day warm, the next distant, trying to shake something loose in him. But nothing happens. He remains calm, balanced, unmoved. What she interprets as arrogance is actually sovereignty. the quiet control that comes from mastering one's emotions. The irony is that her attempts to destabilize him only expose her own dependency on validation. The game she designed to break him ends up reflecting her own need to be seen, heard, and acknowledged. And when she realizes he won't fight for her attention, she starts questioning her power. The validation deadlock fails because it assumes stillness is submission. But the Sigma male's lack of reaction isn't a void, it's victory. He doesn't need to prove his strength by reacting. He proves it by staying grounded when others try to pull him into emotional chaos. In a world addicted to attention, his detachment is rebellion, and that's why he always wins the deadlock. In the end, every trap built for a Sigma male has one thing in common. It fails not because he's invincible, but because he's aware. His calm is not ignorance, it's insight. His silence is not weakness, it's observation. The Sigma male doesn't fight for dominance or validation. He simply refuses to be manipulated into emotional submission. Every test, every game, every hidden challenge reveals more about the person setting it than about him. What most people miss is that the Sigma's power lies in stillness, not the kind that ignores emotion, but the kind that understands it so deeply that chaos can't control him. Women who try to trap him often do so unconsciously, drawn to his mystery, but frustrated by their inability to decode it. They mistake composure for coldness, self-containment for distance, and emotional depth for detachment. But the Sigma male's energy can't be captured. It can only be respected. When you understand him, you see that his life isn't about control, it's about freedom. Freedom from manipulation, freedom from emotional dependency, freedom from the need to prove his worth through reaction. And that's why every trap, from soft control to moral inversion, eventually breaks itself, because the Sigma male doesn't play emotional games. He quietly outgrows them. So the next time someone tries to test his silence or question his detachment, they'll realize too late what they called distance was actually discipline. And that's the Sigma's secret weapon. He doesn't resist the trap. He rises above it. If you found truth, power, or clarity in this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more deep, brutally honest insights like this. Don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts below. Your engagement keeps this space alive for those who see beyond the surface. Stay sharp, stay self-aware, and as always, protect your peace.